Friends, let's talk about the upcoming election to the World Zionist Congress. The World Zionist Congress was established by Theodor Herzl in 1897, and every 5 years there's an election where diaspora Jewry gets to vote. This election is actually not something small. It is diaspora Jewry's biggest opportunity to have an impact on what's going on inside Israel. It impacts policy inside Israel. It impacts politics inside Israel. And it impacts $1 billion in funding for different organizations. So traditionally, it's very similar to the way things have been going for many, many decades, where you have different types of parties. You have the ultra-Orthodox party, you have a religious Zionist party, there's all kinds of political Zionism, religious Zionism, there's different parties out there. And American Jews have the opportunity to impact this vote. The vote takes place online between March 10th and May 4th, and you chip in $5, you get to vote in this election, and that's how the vote is decided. Now, you are looking at me and you're thinking, okay, he has a kippah on his head. Either he's voting for the ultra-Orthodox or he's voting for the religious Zionists. But I want to take a moment and stop and realize that the election this year cannot be the same as in any other year. We've seen what happened over the past 15 months. We've seen the struggles that Israel has been going through, and we've seen the tragedies that Israel has had to endure on so many fronts. We've seen people lose their children in the army. We've seen hostages. We've seen people massacred on October 7th. And we can't pretend like this year goes like any other year. And I want to talk about the fact that so many times we vote in this election in a tribal way. I'm ultra-Orthodox, I'll vote for the ultra-Orthodox. I'm religious Zionist, I'll vote for the religious Zionist. And I'm here to beg you to not do that this year. I'm here to beg you and say, okay, at what point do we care for our narrow sectarial interests, and at what point do we care about the interests of the entire Jewish people? So, for example, when you vote, say, I'm not endorsing anyone, but when you say vote for Hadassah, and then Hadassah goes and builds a hospital in Israel, everyone, all Israelis, benefit from Hadassah because everyone's going to that hospital to be treated. When you vote for an organization that dedicates more to Olim, to people who are going to move to Israel, all Olim, you are benefiting the entirety of Israel. And I would argue that this year, more than ever, we can't afford to be torn apart by sectorial interests and say, okay, I'm going to vote for my tribe. I'm going to be tribal. You can't do that, because we saw this year that Israel together either sinks or swims. You cannot have one field of Israeli politics dominate the other. You cannot care for the interests of one community over the other. My grandfather was the president of the Mizrahi in the United States. He did extraordinary things for the cause of religious Zionism. He did extraordinary things for the people inside Israel, for religious Zionists inside Israel. He helped fundraise to build Bar Ilan University, advance the cause of Torah study inside Israel, and Orthodox day schools, and what have you not inside Israel. But there has to come a point where we say, okay, let's look at Israel's demographics. Let's see if our community, the Orthodox community, is a tiny threatened minority, or is it at the point where the Orthodox community is so big that it's just not fair for it to hoard the resources of everyone else? And I think that that's the point we're at. And that's the point where we really need to stop and say, at what point can we put the interests of my community, of my narrow sectorial interests, over the interests of everyone else? And I would urge you, especially this year, to vote and to make sure that the vote is what takes into account the interests of all of the people of Israel. I want to also take a moment to speak about religious Zionism. I am a religious Zionist. I strongly believe in the cause. Over the past 2 years, we've seen people in the Knesset, in the Israeli Knesset, who claim to be the face and embodiment of religious Zionism. We've seen them tear Israel apart from the inside. We've seen people like Itamar Ben-Gvir, Simcha Rothman, we've seen Bezalel Smotrich abrasively throw Israel and plunge Israeli society into a civil war, into scenes that made us all uncomfortable, regardless of what our politics were. And we've seen extraordinary lack of concern for what the makeup of the people, the unity of the people, will look like. We've seen from Ben Gvir, we've seen Kahanism brought into the mainstream of Israeli politics, and many things that would make us uncomfortable being brought in the name of religious Zionism. And so now's the moment to stop and say, wait, I do have the power to vote. I am going to be voting in this election. And is this what I want to give my blessings to? When I say I'm voting for a religious Zionist party, what does that involve? Who am I voting for? And you'll take a look and you'll see where that's going to, and you need to ask yourself if that's what you're supporting. Similarly, we've seen another phenomenon this last election where the Haredi ultra-Orthodox vote gets 16% of the total vote, meaning that is not the representative amount of the diaspora population of Haredi Jews, definitely not of Zionist Jews. And so there's been this concerted effort to hoard sectorial budgets and interests, and to have many ultra-Orthodox votes. By the way, I in many occasions would call myself ultra-Orthodox, but it's not fair to go and just overwhelm this voting system, and then 16% of the vote goes to ultra-Orthodox causes with no regard to what the impact that might have on the broader Israeli community. So, bottom line is, this election is coming up. A. B, it is essential that you vote because the consequences and the implications of this vote are huge. It has a huge impact. It's going to cost you $5 to vote. It's going to be 5 minutes on your phone signing in and putting in your name and voting, but it has a huge impact on the people of Israel. And the bottom line is, I urge you to go look at the parties that are listed at the options for voting and ask yourself, what will be best for the interests of all of Israel? Like I said, whether it's because you're voting Hadassah and they're going to care for all of it, all the people in Israel, whether you're, I honestly, I'm not going to list all the different parties, but the bottom line is, look for a party that cares for all of Israel. Israel needs to heal. Israel needs to be rehabilitated. Israel needs budgets that are going to be sent out to the entirety of Israel, from the devastated communities near Gaza to the decimated communities on the northern border. Stop, take a moment, and ask yourself who is going to benefit all of the people of Israel, and make sure you vote for that. Don't vote for any extremism, and make sure you're just asking yourself what is going to benefit all of the people of Israel, not because my friend or my cousin is on this party, not because this person in this party looks like me or sounds like me, but rather because you want to know what's going to rebuild Israel, what's going to rehabilitate Israel, and make sure you vote in line with that, to make sure that the influence that this huge vote, founded already by Theodor Herzl, helps Israel rise from the devastation and division that have struck Israel over the past 2 years. And let's hope that, God willing, we see Israel healing, coming to itself, and that we see the people of Israel doing much better, that we do not see any poverty, pain, violence, or any of that, so that Israel can be the one, the Israel that we love and know, where everyone has an opportunity to thrive and flourish. Thank you.